And welcome everybody to the Triple Commit podcast. I'm your host, MorkyMork, of course, caster extraordinaire, host not so extraordinaire because, as Mumen will tell you, I got this all messed up at the very start. So, not the best start to the day, but we got it all sorted out, so we're all good to go. On this side, we have Aidanseesthings. He, of course, is a Rocket League caster, cast for Wolves, Galaxy Racer, and will be casting for Endpoint tomorrow. And then on the other side, we have, of course, Mumen, who is, of course, the coach and manager of Evil Genius's former German Amigos. By the way, Mumen, I still miss that Twitter page, the German Amigos Twitter page. Who ran that? Who's the one running that, by the way?
Well, Arise did. And maybe someone else. That's all I can say.
Very, very secretive. But
maybe someone else.
Maybe someone else. Yeah, it's like a James Bond film in here now. We just who done it? Who's the mastermind behind that great Twitter page? But Aidan, what
not quite the Da Vinci Code, is it?
Not quite the Da Vinci Code. No, not quite. Aidan, how's it been taking a bit of a break from Rocket League though? Because you're getting back into it now. But how was the break? Was it as excruciating as I can imagine?
It was tough. I mean, especially because it's not like I was really doing much outside the house given the pandemic and everything. So obviously I miss Rocket League a lot, but had a lot of work to catch up on. And, a big part of that was so that I could quit, my full-time job, become freelance so that I can actually spend more time with esports, with Rocket League and with content creation, which is really what my passion is. So it was tough for a while because I felt like I was taking a step back by stepping away. But now I'm back doing the things that I like. So it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, casting for, you're going to have your heart wrenched in two tomorrow, I hope you know, by Endpoint, because they always do that. They always scare us in the group stage. Mumen, I suppose for you, Evil Geniuses, how is that must have been a euphoric moment when you finally got, picked up by a really big org, it has to be said. Evil Geniuses are a massive org, so that must have been, very, very heartwarming for you guys.
That's definitely right. Like, we had so much time spending with talking to other orgs, but we were really pumped to have like a massive org like Evil Geniuses at our side. Like right now, it's crazy. It's still unreal for me because EG is like, it's a top tier org. They're so good to us. That's all I can say.
It's super exciting, isn't it? I mean, I remember watching EG like so long ago when I used to play League of Legends when I was like 10 years ago, I think. So it's really cool, man. It's awesome to hear.
Of course, they made a big addition, of course, today to their CSGO team as well. So, big stuff going on with EG there. And still a tier 1 org out there. But speaking of tier 1 orgs, let's talk about RLCS and all what's going on so far. And it's been... Well, we'll talk about the winter split in a little bit, but Mumen, I have to ask you, how heart-wrenching was it to just miss out on the major and just miss out on it by literally a series?
It hurts. It still hurts. But we're good with the result because we had some rough days behind us. Like the first regional, Rizex with his PC like half hour ago. Half hour to start, his PC was broke, and then he got to play on a shitty laptop. Same with the second regional, his PC was still broke, so he played on it, and it was like really awkward because his sound just cut off sometimes. So we had like bad comms and stuff. And the third regional where we tried to boot camp, I got COVID. So I couldn't go to the boot camp, and I even lost his glasses in the train. So still after the regionals, we still had a good result, I can say, but it still hurts because you definitely know you could have gone there. You should be there on the stage. Like it hurts, yeah, but I mean, Semper was still very good, and they deserved the win, for sure.
Rome wasn't built in a day, so I mean, it's good to see the progress you are making. But you said whose glasses did you lose? Did you say?
Ivan.
Oh, how was it? How was his reaction? How was that whole?
Oh, I don't know. such
We don't talk about it.
It's just stupid. It's just stupid. Like he just left it on the train and completely forgot it. Like he played with some other glasses, like from someone in the boot camp.
Some sunglasses.
No,
Not doing the same.
not sunglasses,
Sitting there with
but
aviators.
someone in the boot camp just came to him and say, "Take it." Okay. He tried it, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah, I suppose, Aidan, how much of RLCS Major did you watch? Did you watch it all, or were you just kind of tuning in and out every now and again, or were you actively following a team during it all? What was your situation during the Major?
Well, funnily enough, I was kind of following Semper, so I don't know that's going to hurt a little bit, Mumen. But
Okay.
no, I was hoping that they could really show up. You know, I've been a big fan of Archie for a while, and I think he's a phenomenal player. And you see for a long time now, he's always sort of in top 3, top 5 performers. And I think he just deserves a little bit more at this point. But I was expecting it to be a BDS NRG. Like, I didn't really think it was going to go any different. It's sort of like already written. And I mean, if I'm honest, I'm getting a little bit tired of the sort of the BDS domination, and I would like to see some mix-ups, which is why I am starting to follow the other teams. And I'm really hoping, I mean, hopefully Evil Geniuses can be one of the ones to put an end to it all, because it's getting a little much.
Well, incredibly, they didn't win a regional all regional long. They went to the Major and they managed to win the Major, which is just insane. It just shows how
That's typical BDS, isn't it? It was last time in the grid. They would go, nah, I don't really care too much as long as we play in the big tourney, and then and then they show up.
Yeah, it always seems to be the case with them. Definitely showing that they're not just online merchants. They're definitely a team that's around to stay. But I suppose looking at Europe as a whole, it is really stacked for all the teams. You know, there's so many teams, so many little points separating fourth to eighth. Ultimately in the listing before the Major. So I suppose for you guys, Mumen, how motivating is it now after seeing that land for the next regional, for the upcoming regional, of course, which starts tomorrow, Friday, of course, you guys are going to be taking part in it. So how motivated are you guys to grind and really get up to that upper echelon of the Major?
Really high motivated. We were grinding our asses off, so we wanted. But yeah. All.
Fair.
When you say you're grinding your asses off, like how much time do you guys actually really spend? Like, it's always a question I ask because it can be different for everyone, right? How they split that up.
It's like kind of different from each day because you need some off days, of course. But I would say like 3 hours a day minimum. That's really it. Like, yeah, and then like kind of for every player is maybe 5 to 6 to 7 hours. Like, I don't know. I just know how much we do scrims and coaching stuff. And then they play for themselves and try to improve some other things. But I just know we grind our asses off. Like I did too. Watching so many replays, it's crazy. Like, yeah, we're really high motivated and we really want to do it this time without any issues, of course. Please, RizX PC, please.
Did he buy a new PC at least?
Again.
He did. It, like, that's the funny part. It was a new PC. He had the PC and then it just broke. That's it. Like, he had a new PC for like 2 days of scrimming, all good. Then regional 1, broke. Perfect.
Yeah, I remember.
So, but now all good.
I remember that against Endpoint when you had to sub in your sub against Endpoint. That was, that's always disappointing to see. You know, even someone who's casting for Endpoint at the time, it is disappointing when you can't see the best players playing. And RizX is a very talented player, one of the real highlights of RLCSX and the off season as well. You know, of course, German Amigos, formerly of course German Amigos, they were just dominating the off season. We'll speak about the bubble scene in a while, but how did that transfer going into the first region? Do you think that was kind of a bit of overconfidence, or did you feel that maybe the PC was the big problem, or did you feel like there was things that maybe you just didn't quite click on the day as well?
Oh well, can't tell. Like the PC was definitely a pain in the ass, definitely. It kind of threw our motivation up, but yeah, I definitely would say that the PC was the main part at that time, and still for the second regional, because we knew his PC is kind of broke. The scrims went not that good because of it, and he really tried to fix it, and some other techies tried to fix it. Also, some people from EG tried to fix it, but at the end, it was a stupid mistake by someone who worked with the PC. But, I would say it was definitely a pain in the ass, but still, we can do better.
Yeah, well, I think that there's such a high skill ceiling for you guys that it is really good to see, and I think that's the case for a lot of European teams. Aiden, is that the skill ceiling is so high. Europe is just such a stacked region right now. You know, you look at the closed qualifier at the weekend, and so many good teams that had a chance to get through didn't. You know, teams like Triple Trouble, Stormtroopers. You know, so many good teams out there, but because there's only 16 spots, some of those teams won't get a say in getting to the major or getting to the regional at all.
It's really tough, isn't it? I mean, you have so many talented players, and I mean, really, when you look at like the percentile that these players are in, there's still there can be a big gap between 32 and 32nd and first. But when you do look at Europe in particular, it's such a small margin, and I do sometimes think that there are these little things in play, like how are the players feeling on the day? Did they lose their glasses on the train? Did someone's PC break down? How are the comms, etc., etc. There's all these little things that will play on it, and that could lose you a spot in a regional, that could lose you a spot in a major, and it's so easy for those things to go wrong. And of course, if that happens every time, then there might be something wrong with the team. But it's also the fact that like the best teams have been playing together for longer as well. They have the synergy, they understand their play style, and the thing is, for teams that are at the top, because they already are at the top, all they need to do is keep improving on what they already do until someone counters them, right? And it's not an easy task to do, because obviously those teams coming up from the bubble, they have less resources, less time, less money, less backing, right? When you have all the support in the world, it's easier to keep grinding the way they do because it's just a full-time job.
I would absolutely agree with that. It's definitely something that is a big part of having an org. And, a team like Cookseer's Minions out there still have an org, probably deserve one. They've been grinding hard, doing really well recently, looking so good. The longer it's gone on, the better they've got, actually, which is really, really good to see. But I suppose we'll start talking about winter now. And how do we all feel about the new group stage? Are we all excited for the new format? We've already seen it in effect, of course, over the last four regionals. Of course, we had OCE, APAC South, MENA, and NA, of course, over the last weekend. So, not many surprise results apart from OCE, which we'll get to in a little bit, because OCE was a lot of fun this time around. But ultimately, very much what we expect to see in NA, MENA, and APAC South.
Yeah, it was shocking to see, actually, to see that Ground Zero, into what were they, 7th to 8th, and you had Dire Wolves at the top, and Renegades were 3rd, and you just think, well, there's normally 2 teams that dominate that OCE, and so that's actually really exciting to see, because a bit like it would be to see not BDS dominating all the time. So it's nice to see new names coming through and things get a bit more competitive. And I think it says something about Rocket League in general as well, because while it's been going now for 5, almost 6 years, that now we're getting to a point where it's growing to the size where it actually does attract enough talent and enough funds and enough support for more and more competition. And I think that's always been the difficulty in the past is, how easy is it to have so many teams competing, and do you have enough orgs out there to support these players? And to see it happen now in the other regions as well, talking about MENA and the SSA, for example, and APAC, they're all coming through with some exciting prospects, and they haven't showed a lot on the land stage just yet, but the more they get to those stages, the more they're going to be able to improve, and it would be great to see it become a fully international esport.
Well, I think Sandrock will disagree with you that they didn't show up to major, because top 8 secured for them. pushing NRG
I
very
wasn't
close as
including
well.
them.
Pushing NRG very close as well, and that great quarterfinal was a hell of a quarterfinal. But Mumen, how exciting is it for you to see all these emerging regions coming through? You know, places like Sub-Saharan Africa, places like Asia Pacific, South and North, and you know, obviously MENA now, of course, Middle East and North Africa. How exciting is it for you as a coach seeing all this new talent coming through into the pipeline?
Well, it's crazy. Like, and if it's major, if it's LAN, everyone is there. You can scrim them. It's definitely different. Like we scrimmed some other teams like NA. Like, I mean, did you see Furia scrimming?
Yeah.
They were like the best team. Like they beat everyone. It was crazy. Like specific play styles and everything. Like it's really it's getting really interesting. Definitely. There's so many talents.
How is that actually? Because I mean, with the lockdown and everything, we haven't had any international events really. So you're only really preparing for games in your own region, which means you're stuck playing the same teams all the time. And how different tactically are the other regions? Like I know there are differences, but how is that as a coach actually? It's something I've always wondered.
In the first place, you need to play some games to get used to it because NA plays a little bit more mechanically. They're speedy. It's definitely hard. But if you go too deep into tactical things, you're gonna get fucking overspeeded. Like it's definitely crazy.
Thinking too much.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Then you have like Furia. Like they play their playstyle to get down your playstyle. It's crazy. Like everything works for them, and we were like.
That was really annoying.
I really remember scrimming Furia, and I know it was stupidly hard to play against them. Stupidly hard, and it's a very good experience for us. It's a good experience for them, and you definitely see the talents coming through, and I'm really hyped for this, definitely.
Yeah,
Nice.
it is amazing to see. I'm actually loving seeing all the scenes. Of course, we saw Realize at LAN and how emotional he got, and that was a special moment as well. But let's have a quick look at the groups for the EU region tomorrow. We've Team BDS, 00 Nation, T, and Team Singularity in Group A. Group B is Dignitas, Misfits Gaming, Team Queso, and Rix GG in Group B. Group C, we've Semper, Evil Geniuses, of course, your team, Mumen, Williams Resolve, and Cook Series Minions. And then in Group D, we've got Endpoint, Team Vitality, Carmine Corp, and Navi. And I think looking at that, I think you would be very, very annoyed at getting in the group of death, Mumen.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a group of death. Like Group D is stacked. Like you can't tell how KC is gonna play. Endpoint should maybe do it, but you know the first games. I think you know the best. It's kind of weird, but Vitality and Navi, it's I think that's the really good with death. Like I would say definitely, yeah. But our group, like I said, in EU everything can happen. Mm-hmm. Everything. Mm-hmm. You really can't tell by now, but it's a hard group. Every group is really hard for every team. Like you need to show your best. Like every game. If not, you're not gonna do it.
Aidan, what ties stand out for you tomorrow for your Endpoint stream? Which one are you most looking forward to? Those Vitality, Carmine Corp, or Navi?
If you'd asked me that maybe 6 months ago, I would say Vitality every time. But I'm actually really interested to see the Navi game. I've spoke to Virtuoso recently, and I asked him because I used to obviously cast Wolves with Lewis P, and I always thought Lewis P was such a fun player to watch. And I think they didn't quite fit together, that Wolves team. But Lewis P he's like 200 IQ. The guy like swivels his camera all the time. He always knows where the space is on the field, and he makes these passes which you would never actually think he's going to do. He's going to shoot 100%. No, he plays like a 90-degree pass the other direction. And watching him play just is a lot of fun. So I think it'll be tough, and and point of fun to watch now. I mean, Seiko has been tearing things up, and I think Octane GG put him in the top 10 players for 21. I think that was maybe a little
number 10.
Yeah, I think number 10 exactly. I thought that was maybe a little sort of jumping the gun a little bit, but he has been exciting so far. I mean, what he has played, he's been phenomenal. So I wonder if he can keep that up.
Yeah, definitely. How have you been rating some of those teams so far? Navi, Endpoint, Dignitas have really been stepping up. Semper, what team are you kind of most looking out for in terms of your guys' play style coming into this regional?
That's really hard. Every team. I'm interested in Misfits. Definitely, because they play really good and they play bad. Like, then they play really good, and it's always something. Like, you'll also have like Rix GG. I'm pumped because Emre is playing again. Really love him. T, of course.
The old
not
SK.
Yukio with
Yep.
with Atomic. It's been a great team. Really hyped to see them play. And yeah, like I said, everyone can do it, and every team is like interesting in their own way.
So here's the question specifically for you. How frustrating is it that Psyonix still don't have a specific role for coaches in private matches or in matches in general, especially for RLCS level? How frustrating is that for you as a coach?
It's definitely frustrating because like other esports games does have it, but it's okay because you still can train yourself with it. Like, if you go into scrims and you take it very seriously, you just go into direct the cam and try to coach on that way. But then I would love to have it. I would definitely love to have it. Like, watching your players, watching other POVs, that would be game changing, I think.
Isn't it that guy Comp RL on Twitter? He's now day 306 of asking
that's
Rocket
crazy.
League
That's crazy. That's really crazy.
He's grinding almost as hard as the teams, eh?
Oh my god, yeah.
Comp is a hell of a player. I've had the joy of casting him a few times for Game Time Detroit. So really good player. Fantastic. Big shout out as well to Game Time. They gave me a bit of a break into the bubble scene over in NA, which is always nice to see. But I suppose looking at other regions, who are we seeing making major? Who have you got making major in every region, or at least your top seed in each region? Who have you got so far?
I mean, that's a tough question, isn't it? I think, with the mayhem that's been going on with the transfers and the swaps in NA, I think NRG are looking the most solid at the moment with sort of SSG sitting behind them. I think NRG are going to be top. And I don't know if they'll be top seed BDS, but I mean, I still think they are the number one team. There's so many teams in EU that I'm really excited to see try and make it into the next LAN, because there were teams that missed out, like EG, like Misfits, for example, that I would really love to see. But yeah, BDS, NRG for EU and NA for me, and probably Sandrock for MENA. The other region, I'm not too sure. It's too mixed bag.
You have to say Furia. You have to say Furia for South America, right? Because they're just so good. They're so talented.
Yeah, I agree.
Who would you have, Mumen? Obviously, taking aside your evil genius as number one bias, but who would you have as your number one seeds in each region so far going into the next major?
I mean, NA is it's the same as Aiden. So EU is so hard. Of course, EG is gonna make it. Definitely. I would love to see Dignitas again. They're all really talented and they're solid. Well, maybe I would love also to see T, because as a good friend of Tox, I need to say it, and also they're really good. So I would love to see that. I think Fura also gonna do it again for the other regions. It's too hard to tell. Like, of course, Sandrock, but on the other side, it's like I don't know. It's too hard.
Well, I have in order. So APAC North, I've Tokyo Verde. APAC South, I have Three Rats, which is of course the old Pulse clan squad. Sub-Saharan Africa, Orlando Pirates, of course, they will be playing a major, but I have the Orlando Pirates XD winning that one pretty easily.
I've got Lost Legion Giants. They don't
have.
There's a player on that team I used to coach, so I want them to go through.
Let's go Defunct. Big shout out to Defunct on the stream. We'll tag him later on and tell him that he was mentioned in this. Then
he's getting really annoyed with me. I keep name dropping him everywhere, and he's like, "Shut up! Don't want people to come watch me. It makes me nervous."
Then OCE, I'm sticking with Renegades. I'm sorry, I'm sticking with Renegades. I think Renegades are going to come back stronger. Direwolves and the 4Kidden looked really good this regional, but the question is that long term or is that a once-off thing? It's very much the endpoint question after Regional 1 of the fall split, where everyone was like, is this a one-time thing, or can they do it again? And the next region, of course, they crashed and burned out in the group stage, and then obviously won Regional 3. Boot camp buff is real. EU, I think Dignitas. I think this format suits Dignitas the best, honestly. So I have Dignitas going as number 1 seed. NA have Energy, it's pretty easy. Furia, Sam. I think that's them all, isn't it? I got them all. Yes, I got them all. So yeah, that's who I'd have as number 1 seeds. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, or if you hate me for it, any of those opinions.
I hate you for having opinions.
Well, I suppose that's. One last thing to talk about is the roster changes kind of we've seen, and some pretty crazy ones out there. Of course, recently confirmed Daniel to SSG, who just absolutely popped off in that regional. He looked so good. 2 overtime, 2 0-second goals in a row. Incredible. Like, that man has no ceiling. He's just so good. He's only 15. Aiden, he puts us to shame. I can't even flip reset, and he's just there scoring 0-second goals. Like,
he's got all the time in the world. He's 15.
Already making bank, as Noli would say. Making bank. Mumen, who's the young player that you're most encouraged by coming up into the scene right now? Who's kind of a player you've got your eye on as an up-and-comer that isn't RLCS level yet?
Oh my god. That isn't RLCS level yet. There are many players like, oh my god. It's so hard to tell. Like, there are so many good players. There's so many good players. I loved to see Daniel, definitely, because everyone was so pumped about it, but also Aqua
yeah.
on Rogue. He did well. He did really well, and I think he's gonna have a long-term impact on the team. So I'm glad to see those 2 up and coming players to get into the scene, and like we saw on SSG, completely smash it, like Daniel. I just love it, and I hope like we saw it on from Psycho. He came, he popped off, and now he's there. He's gonna be rated. He's one of the best in EU. So it's crazy. So there are some good players, like you see Oski or Atto, for example, or Zin. They're all like pretty good players, and I think they're gonna do good.
Of course, Team Liquid, it's still not fully confirmed, but it's basically being confirmed everywhere out there that Team Liquid are skipping this regional, this whole split, and they're going to have Oski and Atau on their team for the spring split. So get them up to speed along with a Chronic, I believe it is. Yes, it's a Chronic. So that's going to be an interesting team, of course, and we will have their coach on at some stage as well, Zepper. So we'll have him on the podcast at some stage as well. But Aiden, is there any players out there that you think are are not being given the love they deserve necessarily. With all the new lovings, all the new players like Sunil, like Aqua, like Daniel. Is there any player you feel that's been forgotten a little bit by kind of all these new exciting announcements?
I'm honestly, I mean, I think all the names I would have brought up are kind of the ones I would go with. So, I say that, looking at Singularity with Chippy and Polar, maybe they don't get enough credit, but I would, stick with, pretty much what Mumen said with Aqua, Daniel, Seiko. They're great. I mean, I think that it's tough to, there's a bubble scene with a ton of really talented players, and I don't know how it comes from who gets chosen to get onto a team, whether it's a bit of nepotism, who they know, etc., who they play with, or do they get spotted playing. I think it's a bit of everything, right? There's a little bit of luck, I think, as well, that a player needs to really get to the top. And a lot of it, I guess, comes down to their mentality. But there's so many players I've seen in the bubble scene as well that haven't had a breakthrough yet. They haven't played on sort of the main stage at the highest level that I'm sure they could if they had that opportunity. But there's so many names, there's so many good players coming up, and I think that's a great thing for the future of Rocket League as well, is there's so much talent coming through.
Well, that's a perfect segue into our next topic, which is actually going to be about the bubble scene in general. Mumen, obviously, you guys went through this, of course, being a bubble team, becoming a team that's become, a mainstay now on the RLCS level. How was it for you guys having to fight through and not really have too many tournaments for you guys to play in? Obviously, Season X obviously gave you some opportunities towards the end, but it's very difficult to kind of break in there first to really get into that scene and get up to the speed of the game. So how was it for you guys coming from the bubble scene into now a mainstay in EU Rocket League?
It was hard. I can tell. Like you don't have any grounds to prove yourself, but going through some off-season tournaments was the thing. We grinded hard. We dominated the off-season, and it worked out pretty well. But you don't, like, as a double team, you don't have like I said, you don't have the time to prove yourself anywhere or something, because you don't make it into the RLCS like after one day or something. Like, you need to prove yourself somewhere, and you don't have it. Like, we had a little bit of luck that we had like BS Plus or a Colosseum or something to do some really good organized tournaments, and we won them. But you don't have it like proper anywhere or something. Like this season, there was no tournament or something. I mean, and it was Christmas, New Year, and stuff. But you didn't have any tournaments where you can prove yourself. So it wasn't that hard for us, but we still grinded. We grinded a lot. But now it's like it's become harder, I think. So yeah.
Did you?
Oh, sorry.
I was just wondering because Rizix obviously had a bit of RLCS experience before, right? With Libertas and who else did he play for? It's just slipped my mind now.
Barca.
And Barca, that's it, Barca. And of course, I think Catalysm, he was with Stealth 7, which are like one of the big names in sort of Nitro League in the German bubble scene, right? So did that? Do you feel like that helped you a bit more, sort of, at least maybe mentality-wise, that they sort of performed at somewhat higher levels before compared to some of the other bubble teams you might have been competing with?
Sure. They had kind of a good experience. For like, Catalysm wasn't only in Stealth 7, he also played RCS with Trainhard, with Cryptos and Econ. And so they had the experience, but as a new team with Rizix and then with Ivan, still rated as bubble team. Yeah. So we had to fight to get there where we are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to ask Aiden as well. You, of course, with Torque, had a little bit of a fray into the bubble scene with Torque Light. How has it been on that end of it? How has it been on the manager end of that kind of
the lose
thing?
again?
But no, how is it managing a bubble team? How is it dealing with that pressure, I suppose, of having to live up to expectations, and not only that, but trying to get the team to live up to their expectations as well, because that was a talented squad.
I would say for me, I mean, there were many difficulties. First of all, I'd never managed an org before. I'd never coached an org before. I'd coached players on how to go from plat to diamond, you know? And then I went into coaching some teams that are like GC1 level. And then I had some interest from some players saying, well, we see that you have an org and that you coach and we want to play. And so I thought, well, this would be really cool if we could at least compete in the qualifiers, see where we can get. And we hit all of our goals, which was awesome. We wanted to, well, we didn't quite. We wanted to make day 3 of the qualifiers. We made it to the end of day 2, which was nice. But the 3 players that I had, I found, they're super talented, and I feel like any of them, if they had somewhat a little bit maybe more mental strength, things like that, or they got on along together maybe a little more, that they could easily play on RLCS. They have the mechanical ability, they understand the game enough. But I think that the toughest thing is trying to manage 3 really talented players. Is like they all have egos, and they should, because they're good. Like when I used to play football and I was playing in reserves, and the first team full of egos. And if you're a striker, you have to have a big ego. If you want to be the best player, you have to believe in yourself, right? You have to have that confidence. And so managing that and their expectations of each other, and if it comes down to but they keep making a mistake, things like that, it's like, how do you get them to pick each other up as well, rather than just the coach doing that? And that's something I really respect from coach. I think that's, for me, it was the biggest part of the job. Because I could coach them, I could tell them how to beat a team, I could give them maybe some tips and tricks, but for me it was keeping their energy positive, keeping them on a high, and even if they're down 2-0 in a series in a best of 5, to make them be able to fight back and not get frustrated with each other. That was like the main difficulty. And I don't know how it is, if you're maybe on a team with some more experience, but some these 3 players that I had that were just coming through, I think it's a whole new experience. There's also nerves there and stuff, so it was definitely a challenge in that way.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine it was definitely a big order to fill, big shoes to fill for you, Aidan. But I think you did the job pretty admirably. But I suppose, Mumen, what do you feel the bubble scene needs in any region to really ignite something under these current orgs and teams? What do you feel is really needed in the bubble scene? From anything, from sponsors, from orgs themselves, from Psyonix itself as well, who, of course, let's not forget, did promise bubble tournaments at the start of the season. So, a bit disappointed there was nothing there from them. I know they're sponsoring, of course, the Prestige women's event, which is absolutely fantastic. $15,000 on the line in the prize pool for female or non-binary only teams. So that's fantastic to see. But we need a bit more impetus from Psyonix, I think. Don't you agree, Mumen, in the bubble scene?
Sure. I would love to see it. Like in the past, like the rival series. It was something to prove yourself.
It's where Justin came from.
And what?
It's where Justin came from, the rival series.
Yeah. They need something to prove yourself. Like, you have, just look at the close qualifier, and it was stacked. It was so stacked, and it's sad to see that everyone grinded so hard to be there and not make it. And I would love to see Psyonix or some other sponsors or something to give them the chance to prove themselves. I would love to see that. Yeah.
I think just adding on to that, I think it's more than that as well. If you look at Rocket League as an esport and the average age of players, it's a lot lower than, say, if you look at League of Legends, Counter-Strike. And I know there's all this talk of RL as a tier 1 esport and things like that. I don't think we're quite there yet, because if you look at the opportunities as a Counter-Strike player or as a League of Legends player, if you're not playing LEC, it's not the end of the world. You can still earn money and you can still dedicate a lot of time to it. Where now it's like we have a lot of young, talented players coming through, but what about the guys that are like 21, 22, 23? Is it viable for them to keep grinding, to keep playing, if they don't have an option outside of RLCS? what if they don't make it for one season to RLCS, and then they go, well, now I need to, weigh up my options, maybe finish off that degree or find another job, because there's not enough out there. And I think that's for me, from an onlooker, a spectator kind of view, that's where I see the problems. Is I feel like we now lose talent, which could really enrich the whole environment.
That's true.
We see in NA now, of course, Prestige and Flashes of Brilliance all bringing out some big prize pools. We are, of course, getting some rumors in from EU, specifically from Dream Team Productions, about them running something. What would you like to see in terms of the tournament itself? How much money would you like to see invested in it?
$1 million.
If we're being realistic, how much money do you feel is needed for the bubble scene to really invigorate itself in Europe?
That's hard.
I think you need to sit down and do some maths, which I'm not very good at, admittedly. But if you're looking at, you need to pay broadcast teams, you need casters, you need TOs, admins. There's a lot of that goes into it. Talking about salaries, you're already looking at some thousands for tournaments, just with the framework and the infrastructure as it is. But then to also put a prize pools. I think it's really important that they just get the right amount of sponsorship, but that then comes down to getting viewership. Problem with building a bubble scene from scratch is, unless you have the biggest names playing in it, you're not going to get the biggest viewership, right? Because people don't know who they are. There are bubble tournaments that exist already. There's Nitro League in Germany, and then you also have things like Nice Cactus. And I've seen the viewership numbers that those tournaments get, and it's not that high, despite the level of play being really good. And I think that will be the main challenge, because to get a decent sponsorship, to get decent funds, you also need to be able to give them something back. You can say, well, we can promise this kind of growth or this viewership. So you really need someone who's going to back it and support the idea, the dream, right? Not just go, well, what do you have for me now? Because it doesn't exist yet.
You need something big to get something big. That's it.
I would I think we saw that in the BS Plus competition invitational on the Community Open, that when you put up big prize pools and invite big teams, you get good viewership. So it's all about just trying to balance that, I suppose, trying to have that kind of some invited teams, but also we had the Monaco gaming show, and we had obviously the Master Cup as well in EU during the off season, but of course that started in the regular season, so that's a problem. Is the off season long enough for these bubble scene tournaments to happen, or do you feel it needs to be a bit longer or a bit shorter perhaps, and more time between the end of Worlds and the start of a new season?
I think it should be enough time, no? I think you can even have bubble tournaments going on at the same time RLCS is running. You might not get all the RLCS teams joining, but you at least have a platform for bubble scene to play. Just don't schedule it on the same days, and you won't be sharing viewership numbers.
Fair. Well, I suppose that's going to bring us in to our next topic, which is going to be just talking in general to the lads about what's happening, what's going on in their lives, and how it is, being, who they are. So, Aidan, I suppose, you started out casting for, IGL, Indie Gaming League, sleeping on Tier 6, of course. It got you kicked out, but...
Yeah, I full disclosure, I got banned from the Indie Gaming League because I pretended to be asleep during a cast.
Right.
Yeah, we'll just get the elephant out of the room.
But obviously then you went from strength to strength, casting for teams like Wolves, casting for Working From Home League, casting for Galaxy Racer, which is, of course, just a massive org in general in esports. How exactly have you found your whole career so far as a caster?
I mean, it went, the successes that I've had, I think it went way quicker than I would ever have imagined. And for me, it was, when I first started out casting, I have a background in corporate coaching and giving trainings and speaking, doing public speaking events, sometimes with thousands of people. So I had at least the confidence of speaking. I've had a theatre coach train me on speaking, etc. So that was an area where I felt comfortable to do. But to get into casting Rocket League, which was a game that at the time I wasn't that good at, and I'd been semi-pro in Counter-Strike 13 years ago. So that was my biggest sort of esport experience before. Getting into it, I even hired a coach for myself so I could learn more about the game, so that I could actually understand what teams were doing, right, or individual players, to notice the smaller movements and things that maybe the average viewer wouldn't see, so that I can include that in my casts, right? But the success went way faster than I expected it to, and I wouldn't even say I'm not an S tier or an A tier caster really. I'm still growing, but to have gotten to where I am already, it just shows how, I guess, tight knit the Rocket League community is. It's not that big yet, and once you start to know a few people, you start to get a few opportunities, and that kind of snowballs. And I think you may have experienced the same thing, Morky.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be where I am now without casting first for or Ireland, and then getting into Wild that way, and then from Wild just getting more and more pro names, and even the podcast now. I wouldn't have this platform if it wasn't for casting. So I do appreciate it a lot. And it is something. It is a problem I have a little bit with the scene, is that it's who you know. It's not necessarily how good you are, which can be a bit problematic, especially if you're a female caster. I feel it's a bit more difficult to break in, which is why these WCBC and this prestige tournament are so important in terms of getting female talent in, not only just playing the game, but also behind the scenes and doing the pushing the buttons and being that voice and being that presenter. Lemon Kiwi is killing it on WCBC Premier as the host. Jolly killing it as well. Hercules is killing it on both streams. People that you wouldn't see normally on casts, which is really, really nice to see, I think. Mumen, what exactly do you feel is going to be important in terms of pushing the narrative of females in Rocket League specifically?
Respect. Go watch it. It's fun. It's everything.
WCBC is incredible. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's on every weekend, every Friday and Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern, 6 GMT, 7 p.m. CET. Go check it out. Go watch it. It is fantastic. The casters are amazing. The play is amazing. It's absolutely.
You can guarantee the play is really good.
Oh yeah. Oh,
it is.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It's very, very high quality. It's lovely to see. And it's great to see a female-only league, female or female-identifying-only league as well. Even if Torin is out there still throwing his toys at the trolley, at the pram, because he's mad that his females are in his esports. But anyway, let's move on from that. Let's move on from that quickly. I suppose coaching for you, Mumen, how exactly do you do it, and how do you find it?
Oh, how did I find it? I started coaching in a football club. I'm still doing it. I'm still coaching kids football, and that's how I got into coaching. And then I started playing Rocket League. I started coaching Rocket League when I was injured with my thumb. So I got into coaching, and how I do it. I just do it. It's like having or getting the experience from players, from yourself, from watching videos, from watching replays over and over and over again, and that's how I got into the coaching scene.
I suppose as well, it must be difficult sometimes separating the manager part of your job from the coach part of your job for Evil Geniuses. How exactly do you do that, and what difficulties do you find in being both a coach and manager?
We also do have a team manager like Rice. He's doing a great job, and I wouldn't be here without him, because he's helping me a lot, and so it's kind of good, kind of easy to separate the two things. The main thing for my manager job is to get scrims, of course, which can also be a pain in the ass sometimes. But yeah, that's like without the Rice, I wouldn't do also a managing job at GG.
Okay, well, that's good to know. It's good to know that you got that support behind the scenes. And how important is I've talked to Skizzen and Callum Abbott. Unfortunately, we lost that episode, but they talk about the importance of having that organizational support. How important is EG for the likes of Ivan, Catalysm, Rizix, and yourself?
Very important. Very important because there are so many things behind the scenes also where people, the players evolve, their personalities, they grow their brands, and also other things like psychological things also. So it's very important to have the people around us from EG, and I can tell EG is doing a really, really good job, and I hope every big org do a good job. Like I can tell they're really good orgs, and everyone is doing a good job. But it's really important to have those on your back, because if you fall, you need them definitely. If you don't have someone holding your back when you fall, you're just gonna drop hard.
Well,
unless you fall forwards.
Yeah.
True.
Forwards, not backwards. Upwards, not forwards. And always twirling towards freedom. Yeah. So Mumen, a little bit of controversy recently on Twitter. Apparently you're a bad coach. Do you have anything to say back to being a terrible coach?
Savage.
It was just troll. It was just troll. All good. No, I coached him, and we're just good. And he said, "Look, I'm gonna do something funny." And turns out it wasn't that funny. But I can tell, boys and girls, it was just a joke. It was just a joke. All good. No beef. That's all.
Well, Aidan, speaking of coaching, of course, you recently you're dipping your toe back into coaching now. How does that feel for you? And obviously being back involved in IGL in some capacity. But how does it feel being back coaching again? How does that for you? How's it going for you?
I mean, I enjoy coaching, and funnily enough, Mumen mentioned that he coached football. I also coach football, so and I enjoy. A large part of it is just working with people. A large part of my job before as a corporate coach, I was coaching people. It's kind of what I like doing, and so it's not an org with huge ambitions, or at least where we are at the moment. But what we're doing is fun, and it's a decent team of players who enjoy the game, and it's nice to be around it. It's just nice to be in that atmosphere. I want to get into coaching on a deeper level for sure, and I would like to start working with some RLCS qualifier teams, but for now I'm enjoying where I am, just to get the experience, be around the scene, and enjoy their time. That's all it is.
Yeah, indeed. It's always good, I suppose, to have that experience as well going into it, like through the coaching, through the Wednesdays. I've unfortunately just got into casting just because I was bored. That's what I did. So
we have the pandemic to thank, huh?
Yeah, I know, right? Like
almost morbidly.
it's we were talking about this with Stumpy as well. It's like it's so weird. Like the parents are like, "Oh, isn't COVID terrible?" I'm like, well, actually, COVID's been really good to me. So
yeah, the EU casters, which would never getting opportunities before because of all the sort of work permits and things, and now because everything's from home. It was way easier for EU casters to get on the scene. So, I mean, we really do strangely have a pandemic to thank for a lot of opportunities.
Yes, most certainly indeed. But we're going to get into some Q&A now from some of the audience. We're starting out with a former guest here. Unfortunately, the Vol got deleted, but we will have him back on again at some stage. This is Skizzen, and he asks you both, what is your personal goal for your coaching career?
Me first, or?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you go first, yeah.
I can't tell yet. I love to do some small steps. So I would definitely say I want to do major first, and then you'll see.
What about you, Aidan? Any
RLCS world champion.
Dude,
confident.
Yeah, wrongly so. No, I mean, really, for coaching, my goals is for me, it's to stay switched on, to keep up to date with everything that's happening, to be able to understand the game on a deeper level. Which is, I like to be analytical. I like working with people, and shorter term goal, I would just like to work with some teams looking to break out of the bubble and see if I can help them in any way.
Fantastic. Well, there you heard it first, everybody. If you want to coach your bubble team, Aidanseesthings is available and willing. But I suppose another question from Skizzen is, what influenced your coaching style the most? You both mentioned, of course, that you're both being football coaches. Do you feel that's been a big influence on your coaching ability in Rocket League, or have you kind of developed off of that and found other things behind that have kind of helped a lot?
So for me, definitely, it evolved me, and I just got into coaching because of that. I'd never be a coach without it. I think I can say that. What influenced myself also is experience that I make myself with each other player I coached. With every player I coached, I got tons of experience, I would say. Even now in EG with Ivan, Rex, and Catalysm, I'm still learning some things, and that's really good. I can say that influenced my coaching, and yeah, that's all.
I think for me, football definitely have an impact, and weirdly, sometimes even though Rocket League is very different, I sometimes have a football brain switched on, and it's especially when I'm looking at things like where the spaces or the pockets of space might be on the field. I'm not when it comes to Rocket League. I'm definitely not the biggest tactician. I would say that my experience as a corporate coach definitely developed my interpersonal skills. Being able to work with different individuals and understand people's personalities. I think the time that I did corporate coaching, I've coached 3,000 plus people, and that's given me a good base to work off of when working with different individuals and different levels of ego, or people who doubt themselves, people who are overconfident, and just how to get 3 people to work together, or maybe 4 if you have a sub. But it's things like that I think definitely influence my coaching style. It's very heavily on sort of the interpersonal relationships.
Well, the next question we move on to is from Shifty, who I think this is aimed very much at Mumen, because he says he's EG's fanboy number 1. What are the most difficult, the most rewarding situations you find yourself in as a coach?
Rewarding. I would say seeing your improvement, seeing small steps with the team is like something different. It feels so good just to see when you implement something into the team and you see the small steps they're doing. It's crazy. It's like a really, really good thing. Also on the other side, definitely not making major is a thing which motivates me really hard, but still hurts. Still hurts.
Sad face. Yeah, it must have been difficult for you, all right? Especially being so close, being a series away, it's even worse. I think had you not made it out of the group stages, it would have been different, but I think being a series away is even more painful in a lot of ways, even though Semper were absolutely cracked that regional, and of course came up against
we were 2 games front, so we were like, oh my god, we gotta do it. Oh no, we don't. That hurt, so much, yeah.
Tactical.
Sorry if it's too personal, but when you say it really hurt. I mean, I can imagine. I know, actually, I can't imagine. I've not been in that position. I actually hate it when people say that. But I hope it's not too personal. But how was your reaction? Did you take a step back, or did you get maybe more intense, or what was the actual emotional response in the moment?
Well, the first 10 minutes, realizing we lost, I was kind of emotional, because we got through some shit, definitely, in the regionals, and I would say we deserved it, but on the other side, we lost that game, and there is no excuse. So after a day, stepping a little bit back, we talked about it. We had a little break, just a little break, and then got fully back into it. So it kind of motivated me, definitely, but sure, it, like I said, it hurt. It hurts. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we'll forget about it now. Stop bringing it up. Hey, so you want to keep remembering this really heartbreaking moment?
Thanks.
I suppose next question is from Chris, who's asking EU or NA. I think we know the answer here, but I have to ask anyway. EU or NA? Which region is better?
EU. For sure.
Do you want to expand on that, or is just EU is better? Just because it's better.
EU is better.
It's literally better.
It is indeed. Even with Daniel, EU is better.
I've had one thought about NA, and I think they play prettier Rocket League. But the thing is that I don't think that the pretty Rocket League always wins. It's the gritty, hard pace, fast Rocket League that you see more from EU. EU's just faster. And it's not always the prettiest goals that are winning the games. Sometimes you're forcing it through and just piling people in, and I sometimes feel that EU is just quicker, right? And in the end, they're better. I mean, obviously, mechanically harder to play the faster you're going, right? So, sure, NA. I think they give each other too much space, and maybe they're used to that respect, and EU doesn't give it to them.
No, you are straight in their face, smashing them in the face. So we're all saying EU here. I would agree only because
I think Mumen is slightly not agreeing. He's like, no, not quite.
I would say NA is faster, but we're smarter. I would say that, but in the end, it's EU.
I say EU because of depth. I feel like NA have 5 or 6 super teams, and then they have complexity, and then it's just a mess. That's the nice way to say it. It is a mess. It is, though. It is.
That's really harsh.
Indeed.
You look at a team like Xset, who should be, typically top 8, and they crash out in the group stage. Stuff like that happens all the time in NA. I feel like that. Unless you're one of those top 5 or 6 teams, which I'm including complexity in, you're really going to struggle to finish in the top 5 or 6. Whereas in EU, you can have a pop off day and make top 4, top 3. It's all down to. I feel the depth in EU is more, and I just feel like the super teams kind of take a bit away from the passion of the game, because NRG against someone like RPG, there's only really going to be one winner there, isn't there? And that's NRG. So
yeah.
Aidan, a question for you from me. How are you finding getting back into content creation? How is that going for you? How are you really enjoying it? Are you really, really loving getting back into it?
Yeah, of course I'm loving it. I mean, that's something I've been striving to be able to spend more time doing. I haven't quite figured out what my niche is yet. I know that I don't just want to make Rocket League content. I'm interested in making other forms of content as well. But of course, you may have heard I'm working on a game show. So working with talent and personalities within the Rocket League scene. I did that back in July, August last year. So I'm sort of rebooting it.
First winner,
as you know. But no, I'm loving it. It's great. I love the whole creative process. I especially love when I get to work with other people and I can sort of manage that. And when I get to speak with others and to work together, it's nice. You don't feel so lonely. I think that's one thing that you need to be careful of when you're doing content creation. Is it can be a very one-man army kind of thing. And you could end up feeling a bit on your own. So I think, as much as you can involve other people, the better.
I just want to point out that I was the first winner of that game show. So yeah, I am talented.
You only had to be last of the wild in Hyperia though, so it wasn't too much of a competition.
I mean, true. But at the same time, I still did it. So. And to be fair, I guess the scenarios more than they did, even though they're better at Rocket League than I am. So I was pretty proud of that.
True.
Yeah. So I was pretty proud of that. Mumen, would that be something you'd be interested in, by the way, being on a Rocket League game show?
Sure. Why not?
I'll sign you up.
All right. Let's do it.
Right. Well, I suppose. Sorry. Someone wants to know, Mumen, when are you going to meet them in real life?
Who?
Sweffy 0855. Yeah, Sweffly. Sorry. Yeah.
Whenever.
You heard it here first, folks. So definitely, if you want to get in contact with the show, we'll make sure it happens at some stage. But that is going to do it for the episode.
Starting to sound like the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Spend a day with Mumen.
Let's go. Meet and greet.
Meet and greet. Well, that is going to do it for the show. But before we go, of course, as always, going to ask the guys, do they have any shout-outs they want to give? My cat has decided to join me on stream right at the end. He wants to say hi as well. You guys can't see because I don't have my camera up, but he is here. He's active. Any shout-outs you want to give Aidan, or any things you want to plug? Obviously, you already plugged the game show before, but you want to plug it more and tell people what channel it's on, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. I mean, shout out to myself, Aidanseesthings on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, wherever you want to find me. But big shout out to my community. It's obviously it's people that drive sort of the enjoyment of things like this, right? I wouldn't be casting without people watching. I wouldn't be making content if it was only for me. I probably would, actually, because I do make myself laugh far too often. And of course, I mean, shout out to my girlfriend who also supports me with these things. And she's definitely nervous with the whole fact of, you know what, I'm gonna quit being a corporate coach and I'm gonna do video games.
Mumen,
and to you, Morky.
It's kind of the same for me. My girlfriend does support me like a lot, and I mean, I'm full time right now, so couldn't be better. Also, community, crazy stuff. Love you guys, and shout out for you guys being here, doing that kind of stuff. It's like it's pretty crazy. I'm really pumped, really hyped for some other people on the podcast, and yeah. So, and follow me on Twitter. If you're not doing it, we're not gonna make major. So go follow me.
You better be following me.
I am.
Well, that is going to do it for today's show. Thank you to my amazing guests, Aidanseesthings and Mumen, for tuning in. We'll be back again next week with another episode. I'm not quite sure it's going to be on it yet, but we'll have that to you on Twitter as soon as possible. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at @TripleCommit, and as well on YouTube, of course, where you can watch this. And you watch it on Spotify either. Depends. You can't watch it on Spotify. You can listen to it on Spotify, what I'm talking about. But that is going to do it for us for tonight. From me, MorkyMork, from my guests, it is good night. See you again soon.